Welcome back. Last week in Ghana, the President, Nana Akufo-Addo, named senior monetary policy expert Ernest Addison as the new central bank governor after the former governor, Nashiru Ishaku, resigned for personal reasons. The announcement comes as Akufo-Addo's young government seeks to stabilize national finances and review with the International Monetary Fund the terms of a $918 million financial aid deal aimed at reducing inflation, public debt and the fiscal deficit. Let's get a sense of how this change of guards at Ghana's central bank is playing out for the economy. I'm being joined by the Chief Executive Officer, Data Bank Group, Kojo Ade-Mensah, talking to us from Accra, Ghana. Good afternoon, Mr. Mensah. Thank you very much for joining us.
Good afternoon, Mr. Nona.
Now, how did the market and the entire economy receive that news of the resignation of the former central bank governor, Mr. Nashiru Ishaku?
Well, initially, most of us thought that he had actually been pushed out, and we were quite concerned because then you send out a signal to suggest that the central bank governor role is a political one and not as independent as the Banking Act requires. But after speaking to Nash ourselves, we've spoken to him several times, and he said that it was for personal reasons. And so, well, if it was for personal reasons and he has resigned, then we are quite comfortable with it. In addition, I think the appointment that the president made is a very positive one for us. We all know Addison quite well because he used to be at the central bank. He used to be head of research at the central bank. And at the time, we saw him as a very pragmatic person. The challenges of the economy are quite different now from when he was head of research, but we believe that he's followed the Ghanaian economy close enough to be able to deal with the challenges that we'll be faced with.
Now, it's this resignation by Ishaku, I believe, may have come as a shock for a lot of Ghanaians, considering the fact that he just came into that office last year. Isn't it a concern for many of you there?
Yeah, it really was a concern. I mean, 11 months into the role and then he resigned. It was really a concern. But like I said, some of us have engaged him quite a bit, and we are convinced that the resignation was really for personal reasons and not for political reasons. Probably because he was implementing some of the policies of the previous government, he probably didn't feel comfortable enough to still continue with a new economic paradigm with the current government.
Now, how do Ghanaians, I mean, most of the Ghanaians view the new man, Ernest Addison? What are the expectations from him, especially with the issue of the IMF $918 million financial aid?
Well, the expectation will be that he will be as independent as possible. He will think about the economy first before any political considerations. The IMF have certain conditions around what the central bank can and cannot do with the package that is given to us. And we expect that he would adhere to it strictly for the good of the economy and will not fall into the potential trap of being influenced politically because, of course, he has been appointed by a current president. And sometimes the tendency is that you listen to the politicians rather than listen to the economists. But knowing Mr. Addison and what he's made of, I am very positive, and Ghanaians are quite expectant that he will deliver on his mandate.
Now, what is your outlook on the Ghanaians' interest rate environment with a new central bank governor?
From what has been happening so far, and just before Mr. Ishaku resigned, I don't know if you are aware, but the central bank cut the monetary policy rate by 200 basis points down to 23.5, which was the biggest cut in a while. We believe that was something in the right direction. We believe Mr. Addison will continue with a focus on fixing the yield curve. We, at some point in time, had an inverted yield curve. But you will notice that recently we found out that the central bank is trying to correct that. We found them issuing longer dated bonds and bills, and the appetite for the short term bonds has really gone down. So the expectation is that rates will continue to decline. So far, we've seen a very good direction, and we believe that this will continue in the medium term.
All right, thank you very much for your time, Mr. Mensah. That was Kojo Adam Mensah, the CEO, Data Bank Group in Accra, Ghana. In the meantime, in an effort to drive down the cost of running his government, Ghana's President Nana Akufo-Addo has suspended purchase of new state cars as authorities search for over 200 vehicles said to have gone missing under the previous regime. However, critics say the recent naming of 110 ministers contradicts his campaign. The new government says it has inherited a budget deficit closer to double digits.
Ghana's new government is facing big scrutiny after a plan to cut down on spending has revealed that, in fact, 200 vehicles had gone missing from the president's office. President Nana Akufo-Addo, who came into power last year, has suspended purchase of any new government vehicles after authorities stated that they are trying to track down cars that were never returned by officials in the previous government. The new president, who promised to fix the economy and fight corruption, is facing criticism in the meantime for an elephant-sized team of 110 ministers and deputies, despite a campaign promise to cut government waste. Just a few years ago, Ghana's economy was one of Africa's most dynamic, but it was hit hard starting in 2014 by a slump in global prices for its gold and oil exports. A fiscal crisis saw inflation and the deficit rise sharply and the currency fall, forcing the previous government to enter the IMF program.
Even though I did not know the length of the suspension, because they did not tell us that they were suspending it for 2 weeks, 2 months, 3 years, or 5 years. But I was still impressed because it sent a signal that the government was not about to spend so much of our resources on the luxuries of its appointees and so on. Only to learn just this morning that, as a matter of fact, before the order was given, several of the new ministers and departments had already ordered very expensive vehicles. So what is the purpose of this order? If the vehicles have already been bought and so on, what is the purpose? I'm totally lost.
Akufo-Addo was elected on a promise to create jobs, fight poverty, promote development and boost free market growth through cutting taxes and red tape.
And that's it on the program. Thank you very much for being part of it. I'm Chimeze Obi. Have a good afternoon.